All right. Well, I really appreciate being here. I'm going to rip through a lot of what hopefully will be very useful information. So let me just tell you real quick who I am. So again, I have a company called Worldata. We're down here in South Florida. We're about a 100-person organization. Done a bunch of stuff in the industry for a long time. And we execute campaigns on behalf of clients, both B2B and B2C. We are not an ESP. We're not a marketing automation platform. We use every platform you can imagine. Love Marketo. We do the work for a lot of our clients on the Marketo platform, but also on HubSpot and Pardot and Salesforce and MailChimp and everything you can imagine in between. We take all the data from all these campaigns, about 30 to 40,000 campaigns annually, about 6 billion emails that we're involved with transmitting annually, and we aggregate it for research so we can do these webinars and share best practices. So that's where a lot of the data is coming from. And again, the goal of this is for you to get test ideas out of it. You may say, oh my God, that guy Jay, he's nuts, he's wrong, I don't agree with anything he's saying, but at least it gives you a test idea. And that's ultimately the goal. So I do talk pretty fast. So I'm going to try to cover a lot, and I apologize about how fast I talk anyway. So a lot of times you go to webinars about email, and I'll tell you guys this because you guys are all sophisticated email marketers, and you're talking about data from like a year ago, 2 years ago or whatnot, and it's very, very annoying. But with the pandemic, you really have to stay super up to date because what happened a year ago was very different than today. What happened 6 months ago was very different than today. So we're going to be looking at very up to the minute data. So let's first set some baseline here about certain metrics, and then we'll get into tips and techniques that are going to work. So email is finally cool. What you do for a living now, when you talk to somebody, you say, hey, I do email. Like, oh my God, I love email. It used to be, or at least that's the way people should react. It used to be, oh my God, that's legacy, that's old school, you're a loser, get another job. That's really not the case. Why has email had this renaissance during the pandemic? And the reason being is people are going to social media right now to really be argumentative, contentious, all sorts of stuff. You don't go to email to argue, right? You go to email to find offers, to find opportunities, B2B and B2C. So if we look at inbox activity, for example, now versus 2020, January, February period, right, before the pandemic hit, inbox activity, that's not how often people are opening up email, but people in their inbox is up 22%. That's a lot. B2B open rates across the board, 16% versus pre-pandemic. B2C up 25% versus pre-pandemic. Email newsletter open rates 19%, and overall registrations up 40%. So what does this mean? First of all, if your numbers are down, should you have a nervous breakdown? No, but that's not ideal because we are in this period of time where email is really happening. People are digesting their email. They're in their inboxes more. You know, they're working from home. Their kids are doing school from home. Everything's happening all the time online, so we're focused at home. So what this means as an email marketer, if we're not testing lots of new things, we're not doing our job. Every opportunity, every time we send out an email, it's an opportunity to test something. So here's some interesting data. So as the other Jay mentioned, one of the divisions of my company is called subjectline.com. And you go there, you put in a subject line, it gives you a score, good or bad. We've checked over 10 million subject lines. And we have a lot of data about what words you put in the subject line are going to lift an open rate versus not lift an open rate. So here's a chart, the last 60 days. Okay, and we remove the holiday kind of specific emails because they kind of skew things, Christmas and all that stuff. And we look at the data, these are the words that if you put in your subject line are giving you the biggest boost in open rate, right? So you talk about quick wins, these words specifically. The word that's always at the top of the list is free. And we could talk about free in a minute, but that's always at the top of the list for what word drives open rates. But then you get into lots of different words. You get today, last chance, in stock. What's interesting about the words is you can actually group them into two different buckets. One bucket is things that are directly related to the pandemic right now. So if it was a year ago, okay, before the pandemic, would in stock really matter? No, there was no production issues, right? You can get whatever you wanted whenever you wanted to buy it. That's not the case now. You go to buy something, B2B or B2C, and it may or may not be available. If it says in stock in the subject line, as a buyer, we're like, oh, okay, I'm interested in this. Why the month? Why having the month? If you put in your subject line now, right, trends for February, right? Trends are upcoming trends you need to know in February. Anything that is forward is doing phenomenal, right? If you put 2021 in your subject line now, it does phenomenal. Why? 2020 was a horrible year. All we want to do is look forward. If I can give you a magic wand right now and say you can get to October of this year immediately, you would do it because you want to move forward. So again, these are test ideas, but putting that month that you're in or the month ahead of time, ahead of you in the subject line will give you that boost. And then you see things like curbside or open or jobs and career and deserve. Again, pandemic related words, unfortunately, do really, really well in driving open rates. So every word matters. Now, on the flip side of that, what are these other words? And what's the grouping? When you see today, last chance, tomorrow, available, hours, hurry, expires, they're literally all saying the same thing. And that's creating a sense of urgency. When you are sending out an email, if it is not transactional, if it is not a newsletter, right? If it is an offer-driven email, I don't care if it's B2B or B2C, right? If it's an offer-driven email, the number one thing that drives the open rate, drives that performance, is having some form of a sense of urgency. Even if you don't have an offer that is expiring, right? You can say things like, don't miss out, okay? And the reason you want to do that is human nature is we don't want things that we can always get. We want the thing that's not going to always be there. And we see that in the data with email, right? So creating this sense of urgency, whether it's a true sense of urgency or just an implied sense of urgency, is huge. Here's an interesting stat. Emails with offers that expire have a 67% higher overall response rate B2C and a 51% higher overall response rate B2B, right? So you, let's say, for example, let's say you're a B2B guy and you have a white paper that you're putting out there. That's really not going to expire. It's going to sit on your resources page for the next 5 years, right? Until you get enough budget to do another white paper. Now, I don't want you to lie. I don't want you to say it's not going to be available when it is going to be available, but there has to be a spin to create that urgency. And it's a game, right? Unfortunately, the way you drive response in email is a game. And if you don't want to play the game, you're not going to get the response rate. You're not going to get that email open. And there is no silver bullet in email. There's no one thing you're going to do. They can be like, all right, cool. I can go work on search engine marketing now. I got email taken care of. It's a series of little things. So these things really, really matter. Now, I mentioned the word free, and invariably, every time I do a webinar, and I do a bunch of them, if I mention the word free, people say, you can't use free. You're going to go in the junk folder. You're going to go in spam. Free is bad. I'm a B2B guy. I can't say free, right? I can't do free. It's just not true. And that's where email webinars drive me bananas, because a lot of times information is from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You used to get filtered, go into the junk folder, into the spam folder, not delivered, because of the content that you put in your subject line and in your body copy. And that was the technology that used to exist 10 years ago. Things have changed. Your Marketo rep will tell you this. You go into the junk folder, you go into the spam folder because of the sending reputation of your IP address and your domain that you're sending from, and of the engagement that you have with your user base, not because you put the word free in your subject line. So here are examples of people from like Marketing Profs or Aweber or Adobe. Oh yeah, I know the Adobe guys. They own Marketo and they put the word free in their subject line. So they can do it, so can you. That's my little sales pitch on the word free. All right, the economy is bad. Let's not pretend otherwise, right? As marketers, we can't pretend and avoid things, and we really shouldn't. Whether you're B2B or B2C, words like budget, right? Words like budget, it has a huge impact on your performance. Putting budget, just that word in the subject line, right? How to save on your marketing budget. Uh-oh, I need to save on my marketing budget. I don't have the same budget as last year. It's increasing open rates 14 to 22%. So keeping in mind what we're all dealing with and factoring that into your marketing is important. Why did I spend so much time on subject lines? Because you know what? So often we work with big marketers, right? Some of the biggest brands on the planet, they get their email creative set up. They get their offer set up. Okay, they got it approved. Compliance has approved it. Legal has approved it. Yay. They get it to my team to get it out the door, right, to run this demand gen program. And we go, well, what's the subject line? They go, oh, I don't know. Let me type it up really quick. And 5 seconds later, they send us a subject line with no thought put into it whatsoever. When really, who cares what your offer is? Who cares what your creative looks like? If you can't get it opened, what is the difference? Okay, so I spent an inordinate amount of time talking about this. Here's another example, something really small, right? Little things, big performance. These two little characters in your subject line can increase your open rate tremendously. Brackets, oh my goodness. Here, I got an email, and I love using very recent emails. Okay, so here's my email I got. When did I get it? I got it on Monday. Okay, last week. Oh no, I went the wrong way. From, you guessed it, Marketo. What are they using here? They're using brackets. Nobody does anything by accident. When Adobe bought Marketo for $5 billion, they did that because they said, ooh, Marketo knows a lot about email. Marketo is not sending out an email with any tactic by accident. Just isn't. So when they put brackets to carve out things in their subject line, they're doing it for a reason. They know, along with every other marketer on the planet, that if you use brackets or parentheses to call out your offer, to call out something important in that subject line, you're going to boost your open rate by 31%. Because immediately when you look at this screen, you're looking at what's in the bracket. You can't not look at it. And the game is, how do I get my email to stand out and not the person next to me's email to stand out? And these little things are a big difference, right? And it's all about testing. It's all about testing. I always like to say, emails like being a baseball player. If you get 3 hits out of every 10 times you get up a bat, you're batting 300 average, right? You will go to the Hall of Fame if you do that over your career, right? And as email marketers, we just need to test stuff. And if we get 3 right out of 10, that's awesome. We could put it in our arsenal, and that's cool. So let's talk about something super new that we're seeing is trending that's new. And talking about pre-headers. Now, you guys are all pretty sophisticated, but I want to take you just quickly through pre-headers, but that's not the new thing. Pre-headers are clearly not new. Okay, so first off, here's an email I got from Amazon, right? From address is amazon.com. Subject line is your $10 Amazon credit and free whatever. And then this, light gray thing, because this is one of my inboxes, this is the pre-header. Get $10 when you start using whatever. That's the pre-header. Now, let me first get on my soapbox about pre-headers. There's 2 ways to really use your pre-header. The yellow guys here, Fanatics, Amazon, Search Engine Journal, okay, they're all using it for offer info. It's an extension of what you're putting in your subject line. The other guys like Total Retail Talks here or TYR Sports, they're doing the horrible thing. They're using it for having trouble viewing this email. They're doing the format issue stuff first instead of putting that second. I hate that because it hurts performance. Right? No one's having trouble viewing your email because they haven't opened up your email. It makes no sense to put that in your pre-header first. You do that after the offer-related information. And by the way, when you put offer-related information first in your pre-header, your open rates rise 17 to 22%. So again, little thing, really good impact. Don't ignore the little stuff. And by the way, when you test your emails, most cases you have to look at the pre-header on your phone because you won't see it, right? You won't see it, generally speaking, on your desktop. And back on my soapbox, when you do test your email stuff, if you're not using a rendering tool of some kind, please check it on your phone before you send it out, because all 68% of primary email opens, those are the first time someone opens an email, they do it on their phone, right? So if you're testing your email message before you send it out and you're looking at it on your desktop, why? That's not where most people are looking at your message. Anyway, back to pre-headers. What's the new thing? The new thing is emojis in the pre-header. Now, don't discount this if you're a B2B guy, because it works for B2B and B2C. We know, okay, that emojis are doing really well in the subject line. So here's Old Navy from line. Then you have the subject line, 12 dresses, whatever. And then they have their pre-header. Ooh, and then what do they have in their pre-header? They have emojis. Now, I say emojis and you guys tune out. Like, it's silly, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. Here's one from Tom's. The entire pre-header are just clocks. The entire thing are emojis, right? I know you're tuning out and saying, I'm not using an emoji. I'm in the engineering space. It won't work. That's not true. First of all, emojis in the subject line will boost your open rates 19 to 22%, B2B, B2C, okay? But now in the pre-header, it's an extra boost of 12 to 15%. Again, this is all about testing. And just because you hear emoji, you say, oh, this is lame, this is embarrassing, I'm not trying it, it works. And that's what it's all about, it works. So it's another good test. Okay, 5-second pause. My wife always makes me put this slide in my webinars because she thinks I'm insane and I'm gonna keel over if I just keep talking fast, but whatever, here I keep going. All right, forget what you know. One of the things that's really changed during this pandemic has been the timing of emails. We're gonna do consumer, then we'll do B2B, and when people are opening up their emails. This slide really speaks to the fact that if you haven't looked at all the major variables of what you're doing with your email campaigns, you need to take a step back and do that. Why? Because as human beings in the last 12 months, if you haven't changed your daily routine, if you're doing the same thing every day that you were doing before the pandemic, that's super weird, okay? Because that's almost impossible. Your day has changed. When you're doing things has changed. When you were looking at your email has changed. Consumers before the pandemic were checking their email early in the morning and it dripped out during the day. Now they're checking it later into the morning, into the afternoon, right? So that's when you want your emails getting there. And if you haven't tested this, test different timing because it can change your performance radically. On the B2B side, okay, it used to be everything was happening early morning. everything, right? Because that's people getting their day going and whatnot. Now it's dripping out. Now it's dripping out. We're seeing it an extended version of this, okay, throughout the day. So again, if you haven't tested this variable, you need to do that because it's changed. Everything has changed. It's just another variable. Okay, here's some more rapid fire tips, as if I wasn't talking rapid enough. Okay, non-offer links. Non-offer links. You have an offer. You get your email together. You have an offer. Oh my God, I need to get this thing sold. I need downloads. I need webinar attendees. I need to do this. Oh my God, I got to send it out. You have an offer. You're excited. Yay. And what do we do as marketers? We put other links in the message. We put other links to other destinations on our site in the message. Non-offer links get 52% of clicks when there are 3 or more destinations that exist, right? What does that mean? That means when you have links to a bunch of different places on your site other than the offer page, they're going to get the majority of the clicks. Stop giving people things to do. You have an offer, you want it to get responded to, drive people to that offer page. Do not distract them. We are a simple-minded species and we can't handle it. We can't handle it, okay? Send them to that destination page. Here's a quick tip. Single-day email offers are doing really well right now. 21% higher overall open rate. Single-day email offers, another great test. Weird stat, okay? Round numbers. In the world of email, round numbers are a 5 or a 0. Round numbers actually generate an 11% lower average open rate as compared to non-round numbers. So for example, if I put in there 10 tips for financial advisors versus 11 tips for financial advisors, believe it or not, 11 tips will do better. The generic nature of 0 and 5 tends to do worse. Totally bizarre stat, but again, any little thing, it's about the little stuff and testing the little stuff. And the beauty part about everything that I talk about, I don't like talking about things that are going to cost you money, right? You're not going to go back to your Marketo rep, be like, I need to get the enterprise edition because this guy Jay said to do X, Y, and Z. No, that's not the case. This is simple stuff that gives you a boost. Okay, so we're talking about schedules. We're talking about things. Now we're talking about Mean Girls, the movie, because I have, among other things, a 13-year-old daughter. So I've seen this movie too many times. Okay, so scheduling, right? Have you changed your sending schedule? Okay. Now, condensed email schedule. This is doing really, really well. And this is where people are going to beat me up, but that's okay. Offer-related messages. This is not your newsletter. Okay. This is not a transactional thing or whatnot. Offer-related messages. Before March, that's before the pandemic, B2C marketers average sending 3 messages for a single offer promoted over a 2-week period. Right, they have an offer, so over a 2-week period, they would send out the first email introducing the offer. The second email would be time's running out, and the third email would be last chance. That was before March. Now, the B2B guys would send out 2 emails over a 2-week period on average. That doesn't mean some people didn't send out a lot more. I have some clients that send out a boatload more, right? But on average, they send out 2 emails promoting a single offer over 2 weeks. That was before the pandemic. Now, this slide's like, oh my God, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Now, B2C marketers are sending out 4 touches over 2 weeks, and B2B guys are sending out 3 touches over 2 weeks for a single offer. I will tell you this is a very conservative number. The majority of our clients are sending out, on the B2B side, for example, 4 to 5 touches over a 2-week period for a single offer, and the B2C guys, the same thing. Now you're saying that's too much, right? I'm sending too much. It's not too much. And the number one thing I would tell any email marketer would be that you're not sending enough. And the way that you know if you're sending too much is to know your numbers, right? Is your open rates going down? And you have to categorize your emails, offer emails, transactional emails, just newsletter emails. Are your open rates going down? Are your unsubscribe rates going up? If your open rates aren't going down and your unsubscribe rates aren't going up, then you are not either you're not sending enough, right? And what happens is, as marketers, we send out an extra email in a week, right? And then we get back a flame, we get back a nastygram. Why are you sending me this? I don't know, I can't believe how much you're sending me. Take me off your list. And you get 1 or 2 of these nastygrams, right? All your other numbers are fine, but you get a nastygram. And then what happens? You go into a meeting, and you're like, guys, we got to scale back our email. We got this email from this person. They are angry. We are sending too much. That's ridiculous. Do not let the loudest voice in the room dictate how much you're sending, because right now, in the world of email, people want to consume our email. They're not saying, please send me more, but we see it by the inbox activity. We see it by the open rates. So here's some examples. B2C and B2B. On the B2C side, Tom's, I love Tom's shoes, right? They know what they're doing. Here's one offer, and you can see how recent this is, okay? From January 15th to January 18th, one offer. It's literally the same 25% off offer. Over a 4-day period, they sent me 8 emails. 8 emails. Now, am I telling you to do that? No, I'm not telling you to do that, but I guarantee you're not sending enough. The reason I say people will hate me is you go into any other session, any other email marketing webinar, and they're going to tell you, you got to send out less. You got to be very careful. You really want to just balance everything, whatever nonsense. And that's how you go out of business. Okay. Be real and understand, yeah, you're sending an email, maybe 20, 30% opens that you're getting. The majority of people are not even opening up your email. They could care less about the fact you sent one more email, and let's get some sales. Right, here's On24. They put on webinars and whatnot. One offer, 3 days, 3 emails. One offer, 3 days, 3 emails. They didn't even change anything. They didn't even change the subject line. I mean, I'm not saying do that. You definitely work it up a little bit here. But when you think you're sending out too much, you're probably not sending out enough. So here's a really interesting data, okay? Offer-related messages. Now, B2C, same offer over a 2-week period, 4-time touch versus a 2-time touch, 64% jump in response rate. The bottom one's supposed to say B2B, that's a typo. B2B, 4 times versus 2-time touch, okay? 47% jump in response rate. So the moral of the story is try sending more and don't be swayed by 1 or 2 people saying you're a horrible person, okay? Know your metrics, and if your open rates are steady or going up, and if your unsubs aren't going up, you are fine, you are good, okay? Really interesting, 2-time touch for the offer, okay? This is happening now. Email offers sent 2 days in a row versus 4 days, 2 days in a row versus sending over 4 days, okay? Response rate, 24 to 28% higher. That's big. Okay, that's huge. It allows you to get more offers out, more leads, more products, more everything sold. So again, it's a testing thing. It's a testing thing. Here's an example from the Search Engine Journal Summit. 2 emails, 2 days in a row. Actually, less than 2 days in a row, right? Hours apart. It works, and that's why marketers are doing it. So other thing to keep in the back of our mind is change, right? Things that we know to be working won't always necessarily working. I talked about brackets earlier. That does not mean that brackets are going to be working 6 months from now. Okay, it's about, okay, got to retest everything, got to shake it up. Great example of that is personalization on the B2B side. It's a cool tip. In the last 90 days, we've seen first name personalization, J, check out this white paper. That used to be the home run. First name personalization in the subject line is leading to a 9% lower open rate right now, lower. But company name personalization, Worldata, do you know the latest trends? Company name personalization, the subject line, is leading to an 18% higher open rate. Why? Go to your inbox, right? Search your subject lines for your own name. See how many marketers are putting in the first name into the subject lines. It's ridiculous. And that's what happens. We have a trend, it hits a saturation point, and numbers start to go into the toilet. So as a marketer, we can't rely on everything that we've had in our arsenal for the last year, 2 years, 3 years. We have to be testing and changing and doing all the time. So the pandemic stinks. We were talking about earlier before we got started how we haven't been out to restaurants. We're not doing a whole heck of a lot. And anything right now, right, any type of excitement would be great. I mean, being bored would be a massive upgrade from what we're all dealing with, right? So that also feeds into email. Suspense-related subject lines, B2B and B2C, are doing really well, 25 to 34% lift in open rate, suspense-related subject lines. What's suspense-related subject line? So you have things like automotive news. Do you know the most important CRM reports to watch? No, I don't. What are they? And you know what? We are an inquisitive group of people. Why were we so sad when Alex Trebek died? Why? Because we love Jeopardy. I can't answer 99% of the questions on Jeopardy, but I love it because there's a question and there's an answer, right? And it's like, ooh, I want to know. I want to know answers to questions. So when Rosetta Stone sends out an email and say, why do ghosts say boo? You're like, I don't know. Why do ghosts say boo? And I'm going to open up this email. I want to find out. I need to know. So trying these things, right? Trying to create this suspense to get people to open, get them to open up the email. When you create your email, you have to say to yourself, I'm going to get this email opened. I got this email from Sherwin-Williams. Now, you guys are from Wisconsin, and my brother's from Wisconsin, and I know this about people from Wisconsin. They are much more able to do stuff They can fix stuff in their home. They can do stuff. I am not one of those people. I don't even know how I got on Sherwin-Williams' list. I've never painted anything of significance in my life, okay? So I got this email from Sherwin-Williams and it says, our color of the year is here. And again, I don't care about paint, right? But I'm intrigued. This is suspense. And you know what? I'm going to open it up. I'm going to open up this email. And I bet you're sitting here watching this webinar saying, you know what? I want to know the color of the year too. And guess what? There it is. It's bronze. Hooray. Now, if that's not exciting, I don't know what is. But it created this suspense. I wanted to open up that email. That's what we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to try something new, right? There are new things to always be testing. And when you try new things, it doesn't always work, right? So it's all about testing. It's all about testing. So here's something, a totally new thing that we're seeing, brand new thing, okay? And it's called split emails. So on the left here is my inbox. I just wiped out all the messages, but this is, I do, my inbox setup is I got my messages on the right-hand side. I got the view or whatever you call it, the preview, right? And so this is my inbox. I got this email and you can see, you know, it's this giant color background with the headline words, and then below it, this is the email on the right, that's the full email. It's a split email because it's basically two formats in one email, and we're seeing this happening a lot right now. So split emails, two formats in a single email. The split email click-through rate is 17% higher than standard email creative. And I think once you go back to your inbox, you're going to start to see this quite a bit more, right? So here's some other examples. Here's Adobe. You'll see it a lot in their creative right now. They're doing a split email where it's literally two emails, essentially two emails in one message. It's not really two emails, but you have the top, which is a fully formatted HTML message, and then below that, kind of that quasi-text HTML email. And it's doing really, really well. And again, here's another example, right, from Salesforce. On my left-hand side, this is my inbox view that I could see, and then you open it up and you kind of get that split view. So it's a trend that we're seeing more of, and something worth testing and worth considering. And it's doing really well. Another random trend, in the last 6 months, we've seen no reason thank you emails. No reason thank you emails up, usage up over 300%. What's a no reason thank you email is? So here's an email I got from PR Week. You know, thank you for being part of the PR Week community. We want to ensure blah, 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 and here's a special discount, okay? I didn't do anything. They're just saying thank you because I'm part of their list. Old Navy, as a thank you, here's a discount. I haven't bought anything from Old Navy in I don't know how long. I mean, I just don't know how long. So it's not a thank you because I did something. So we all right now want to feel appreciated. We want to feel like we feel like we deserve something, even though we don't. We feel like we deserve something. So getting a thank you is like, oh, that's very nice. You're welcome. What am I getting thank you for? So it's a trend that we're seeing a lot of. And again, it could be a good test for you to engage with your user base. And also, it's a great way to go to your non-engaged data, to go to folks who haven't opened in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, send them a no reason thank you to really try to get that engagement going again, because you will see more opens than normal. So it's a cool test. Okay, I talked really fast. I want to give you guys some free stuff, and then we're going to open up for some questions, all right? I'm not going to do a commercial, because I don't want to commercialize, but we do a lot of work. We do demand gen programs. We are awesome, and would love to talk to anybody who is interested. That was my big commercial. Now, free stuff for you guys if you're interested. And again, there's no hook on this. We put out a calendar every year, B2B and B2C. Usually we send it out physically, but now we're emailing it out because of the pandemic. It's the best and worst days to send out email, right? Green days are good days to email. Red days are days that you may want to avoid. So for example, on our calendar, the inauguration day, not a good day to send out promotional email. We always see depressed numbers on national event days, things like that. If you'd like a copy of this calendar, I can email it to you, the 2021 calendar. You just email me at the address that you see on the screen, jays@corpwd.com. And that's our Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn handle where we put out all of our data. On Instagram, we just started putting out every stat, world data with 1D. Subject line, that's a division of my company. You can go there, you can test your subject lines for free. It's fun. There's an app. We test a lot of subject lines. I have something new that I launched literally last week. It's called Jay's Inside Scoop, and it's an email that I send out weekly, which has any of the latest trends that I'm seeing that you might find cool, tips, tricks. It's just a simple text email that I write once a week now, and it's pretty cool. I think it's cool. If you want to go to that, you have to go to jschwedelson.com and you get it for free. I'm happy to send you it. There's no hook on that. I'm not going to spam you. It's just cool tips and tricks that I'm seeing. Again, If you want the slides, the calendar, you can email me any questions. There's my email address. There's our social handles. And with that, we did it. We solved all the world's problems. And we'll see if there's any questions. And hopefully you guys found that useful.
Jay, that was a lot. It was awesome content. So we do want to open it up for questions. Feel free to throw a question in the chat, or feel free just to jump on and throw out some questions. I will get the ball rolling. So I had a question as we got going. I know you talked about response rates and seeing increases in response rates of emails. So when you say response rates, is that a click? Is that the actual conversion on the website we're driving them to? What is the response rate?
So when I say response rate, good question. I'm not talking about click. I'm talking about whatever it is that you're trying to get them to do. Download an item, register for an event, buy a product, whatever the action is, but beyond the click. So whatever they're doing on that destination page.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see. I think there's a question here in the chat. Should I read it?
Sorry, I didn't see that. It's to everyone. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
Of the new pandemic trends, which do you think is most likely to still work post-pandemic? That's a really interesting question. So the question is, of all the trends that are happening right now related to the pandemic, which is going to continue to hold on? I think for a period of a year or so, the email metrics will continue to stay high in terms of engagement people are having with their inbox. I do think that probably will drift back to some level of normal over time. But I think that's probably going to be the one that holds the longest, because I think that there is this renaissance period that people are really enjoying. But I do think that marketers have pushed the envelope using things like suspense and using, some of the more tricks, if you will, to try to get those emails open. So I think you're going to see more creative methods in the subject line to get those emails opened.
Okay. And Jay, can you confirm that we have Juliana's email address? Thank you for your question. We'll be sending you a gift card.
Yeah, I actually don't think we do have Juliana's email address. Juliana, if you could either put it in the chat to Kelly directly, or you can email me. It's in the email invite. That'd be fun. There we go.
You rock. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, Jay. Another question, kind of related to pandemic stuff. You talked about email frequency increasing since March. Have you seen, like, overall any change in unsubscribe rates with that increase in frequency?
It's a good question, and certainly some marketers take it too far. Clearly, like what Tom's is doing is fairly annoying. Okay, yeah. So what we have seen is everybody's really trying to push the envelope and see and it's always going to be different for every organization. What's the number, right? What is the threshold? So that's been the common theme. And I think the reason being is people are saying, oh my God, my email's doing pretty well. Can I send out more? And then where does it fall off? And the reason I did that whole rant about not letting the loudest voice dictate your marketing efforts, that's probably the most common thing that holds back email marketers is, those loud voices. And as long as you know your metrics, you can keep on cruising, at least in my opinion. Because usually people that unsubscribe are not going to be people that respond via email anyway.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And I know you touched upon it a little bit, but could you just go maybe more into depth about the differences you're seeing between mobile and desktop now? Because I know, for a long time you kind of designed on desktop first and then hoped to work on mobile, and now it's very much the opposite. So I don't know if you have any additional insights you could give on that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we live in a mobile world, obviously, and email primary opens are 68%, meaning first-time opens are on a mobile device. And it's not just about catering to mobile in terms of thinking about that, but it's also your design, right? So the buttons in your email, they need to have a tremendous amount of padding always, because when you're looking at a mobile device, there's not as much room. Like, I'm a thumb guy on my phone, right? There's not as much room. And if you don't have a significant amount of padding, meaning white space around your primary call to action buttons, right, you're going to wind up with people that are clicking on the wrong thing. And all the data shows that once somebody clicks on the wrong thing, they're done. They do not go back and try again. They give up, right? And so it's not just about making sure everything that you've created looks proper. right? But also is what you are creating really speak to the mobile environment? And oftentimes it doesn't. Like, don't include your navigation bar from your website in your email. That's an epic fail. Another one that I think is a fail, people might argue with me, is social sharing links. Everybody loves to put social sharing links in their emails. It makes no sense to me. I've never clicked on I've never been like, oh, this is a great email, let me post this on Instagram. Like, that doesn't happen. I don't like follow companies because it was in their email. And the more links you have, it takes away from the destination page. You want to put that in your newsletter? Great. But you have an offer, it's got to be like super focused on that offer and rip out everything else. That's my 2 cents.
Sorry, can I ask a follow-up too?
Yeah,
on that, and understand the like the one offer, but what about multiple spots in there? So like a text link, a button, and an image all to the offer. Have you seen best practices around that?
The more conduits, the better, or the more conduits saying to that destination page, the better. Obviously, if you go too far and you have too many links, you start to get dinged in terms of deliverability issues. But generally speaking, you want to have hybrid opportunities, especially if you're a B2B guy. If you're a B2B guy, you can't just have image-based click-through options, right? You need to have, text-based click-through options in your message, because even though by default, almost everybody sees the images now without having to change their setting, a lot of people still, disable it. And so you want to have as many options as you can. And the other piece is your logo. People forget about their logo. Believe it or not, almost 20% of all click-throughs that happen in the message that you send out are on your logo, and they always send them to their homepage and not the destination page. And that's just wasted traffic.
Yep.
So yeah.
Thanks.
So Jason, thank you for your question. We have your email address. You too will be getting a gift card. And we also have a question from Stephanie. So Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind sending me a direct message with your email address, we would like to send you a gift card as well. So Stephanie says, any specific tips you can share on event promotions? For example, after someone registers, how often should you send reminder emails and when leading up to the event?
So obviously right now, a lot of events are virtual, and this event's a great example, right? You probably had maybe, I don't know, 10 to 20% attendees versus registrants, percentage, 10 to 20% attendees versus registrants. Okay. And on average, I would say people are getting about 40% or so attendees versus registrants in general. And so you definitely, more reminders are better, okay, are absolutely better, because it's going to increase that number. We are seeing over the last 6 months, the percentage of attendees showing up after they registered is dropping, is going lower and lower and lower, because people are registering for things just knowing they're going to get the content later on. So the increased number of reminders does give people the opportunity to increase that number a little bit. And if there's anything that you could do, a great example is giving out swag or giving out prizes or whatnot. Anything you could do to actually get that live attendee number up, it's great, because we're also seeing the numbers dropping of how many people are actually going back after they registered and watching the event that they registered for, unfortunately. So I do believe in the next 6 to 12 months, the topic of discussion is, what am I going to do? People aren't showing up, but they're registering. And the quality, the marketing qualified leads are going into the garbage because the numbers are going in the wrong direction. That's unfortunate.
Looks like a couple, you got it, Kelly? Questions in the chat?
Yep, just going back up to Chrissy. So she had a question about, do you have any insights into bot clicks? We're seeing an uptick in false clicks in emails, and preach.
Yeah, I know, stinks. So let's just do a quick primer on bot clicks and bot opens and why they exist, right? So you have 100,000 people in your database, and let's say you target, the automotive industry, and let's say you have, 400 people that work at Ford Motor Company. Okay, the network admin guy at Ford Motor Company is like, you know what? We don't want to have any malware, spyware, adware coming into our network, so we're going to use some intrusion detection software. And every email that comes into our network for the entire corporation, we're going to scan every email. Okay, we're going to look at, we're going to automatically, systematically open up every email, right? Launch every image, and then we're going to systematically click on every single link in that message. okay? And then when it's deemed to be safe, there's nothing bad in it, we're going to deliver it to the recipient's inbox, and it's going to look like it was never opened. And that's happening more and more and more networks across the world because everyone's trying to protect, their networks, and I don't blame them. But when those clicks and opens occur by the software, it's registering as an open or a click in your tracking, and that stinks. And I'm sure you've had plenty of campaigns that you send out. You're like, oh my God, I had a great open rate, great click rate, but my response rate is in the garbage. And that's because you really don't have a great open rate and click rate. And this problem is getting worse, not better, because we're all trying to protect our networks from bad stuff. So the first thing you got to do is to figure out, do you have a problem? So how do you figure out if you have a problem? I would encourage you to go back to a recent campaign that you did, download all of your opened messages, okay, sort it by domain, do a domain frequency count, and see how many people do you have. Let's use Ford as an example. Take a couple of companies, if you will, and say, okay, Ford, in my database, I have 400 people, and in this last campaign, 200 people from Ford opened it. Secret, your content's not that compelling, that 200 people from Ford opened it, it's bot clicks, bot opens, you have a bot problem, right? So what you can do is, first of all, you can work with Marketo, and they do have some ability to help you filter that out. But really simple being is to look at some of your recent stuff and dial down your tracking, if you will, by the known activity, right? So if you could take, and you could work with Marketo on this and say, okay, listen, anybody, any domain that I've gotten, over, 20 clicks or opens from, you can look at it either way. We want to dial down those metrics in our reporting down to 5, down to 2, down to 1, whatever it is that you deem to be acceptable. So that way you can get some version of accuracy in your metrics. It's not perfect, right? So all of a sudden you're going to have a not perfect, a not fully accurate view, right? And then the other thing you can do is for the domains that have that issue, right? Domains that have that issue, you can just do as a test campaign, segregate those contacts for a given campaign, okay? Send out to everybody else so you can actually get a true baseline of what it is that's really going on. What is your true open rate? What is your true click-through rate? What is your true everything? And then use those metrics as a benchmark going forward. All of these are horrible options, right? But they are unfortunately what exists right now to really help us kind of navigate this world. That's a long answer to your question, but it stinks.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Another thing that I've heard, I haven't really tried it personally. I think we played around with it maybe a year ago or so, but adding almost like an empty pixel to your emails with a hyperlink attached to it.
Yep.
So you can basically kind of defer or infer if somebody clicks on that link, it was probably a bot. Like
100% right.
Do that.
Yeah, and then the question becomes, what do you do? Okay, great. There's a bot there, right? And it bothers me the word bot, and a lot of times because a bot means it could be fake, but it's really, there's bots which are truly like fake everything, and then there's kind of software that's doing its thing. But to your point, a lot of people are doing that, and then it's just a question: what do you do when you find out you have a problem? Everybody has.
From a Marketo standpoint, what we had been seeing in the activity log is that the email was opened and clicked before it was delivered. And one of the ways that we started using smart lists in order to get a true list of people that had actually opened and clicked was looking at that they made it to the click destination, right? So if you have your mention code on there, if you're driving them to a PDF that's hosted in Marketo, that's a nice way to confirm this actually was someone, because typically with a bot or spamware or whatever it is, clicking on it, you're not going to see that page activity on that activity log.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, timing is a really good idea too. You look at the first 30 minutes of your tracking and focus on that, because that's when the bots are going to occur.
Sure.
Yeah. See a lot of clicks within that first minute. You got something going on there.
You got it, bro. You're not that cool. That's the truth.
Everyone's just waiting for an email from me.
Right. 100%.
We have another question from G Jones. So I've seen more and more of my B2C opens are happening on desktop versus mobile. I had attributed that to the pandemic. Am I just an outlier?
That's interesting. I would be, if the majority of your opens on the B2C side are happening on the desktop versus the mobile, then yes, you're an outlier. If you're seeing your numbers move a little bit more in the desktop favor, but mobile is still the winner, then that tends to make sense. We haven't seen enough data yet for me to have a slide on it, quite frankly. But obviously, people are home, people are online, people are on their desktops. So we're seeing that skew a little bit like that. But if you are, the majority of your opens are not on the phone, then definitely an interesting outlier. And that's interesting, whatever your target audience is, as to why that would be.
Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat. We'll give everyone a few more seconds.
I'll throw out one last question before we, and no gift card needed. Give it up to somebody else if they want it. So Jake, awesome stuff. Is there any way to tease out amongst the stats that you have the B2B on behalf of email opens? So for the Marketo fans out there, that would be the old school marketing has laid out the campaign, loaded it in Marketo Sales Insight for the sales rep to click send. So it's all prepped. So it comes from the sales rep. Any way to tease out stats for those, what I always call on behalf of emails, because marketing has set it up for sales to be enabled from the sales rep in Salesforce.
So you mean, so the from address is John Smith, right?
Yep.
But it's coming out of the automation platform, and it's
Exactly.
whatever the content is. Yeah. So look, those emails, as a general statement, do really, really incredibly well. And I gotta pull some stats, and maybe I can send your way, because we have them somewhere, and you could ping me and I'll send them what you got. But I'll tell you, the good and bad about them is, number one, make sure the sales rep knows. Okay, that's important, right?
Yep.
Unlike regular emails, people will respond, right? So as opposed to a traditional, people will respond. So you need to make sure that your mechanism is aligned to be able to allow for responses. And there are little tips and tricks. So for example, what's been working really well, people actually putting their pictures in the footer of the thing. Like we've been seeing people test picture versus no picture. And in the pandemic, pictures giving a really nice lift. Little things like that are doing, really, really well. And then the game is, how slick do you want it to be? We've actually seen the less slick, not a lot of HTML, not a lot of stuff, do much better than the more slick, right? So I'll get you some metrics, but they do phenomenal. Yeah.
Awesome. We'll drop you a line.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the top of the hour. Just wanted to say thank you, Jay, for bringing all this information to us today. It was awesome. Love the rapid fire. Thank you for everyone that attended and participated today. And then afterwards, we'll be sending out an email with a link to a recording of this. If you have any questions, feel free to poke us, but it's been awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, everybody. Nice seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.